good evening, and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. My name's Rodney.
And my name is Zach.
Normally around this time, Zach would be like having a sip of water or maybe a nice little cup of tea, maybe some honey in there. This week, G&T's, baby, all the way, because this season is finished.
Yes, a little early for a G&T for me, but I'm going to pretend that it's one for me. So, yum, 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 some delicious carbon. What are they? Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll make myself a nice... they have that Ferrari branded champagne, although it's not Ferrari the car company, it's Ferrari the champagne company, or some sort of sparkling, with a bit of rich energy poured in there for like a little rich energy bomb. That'd be nice.
It's only a Ferrari champagne if it's from the Ferrari region of the circuit, aka Sainz's private stash.
The rest of them are just Fiat sparkling white wines.
Correct.
Dumb. This is a dumb show for dumb Formula One fans. Or smart show for smart Formula One fans.
This is what people love. No, actually, they're not here to hear us, talk on like jokes about this kind of stuff. Although we'll check in with you and see how you're going. How you going?
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Excellent. Now, let's talk about the race. Let's get into the race talk with the race review. No, just kidding. Obviously everyone's just chomping at the bit for us to get into our hot takes about the race. But yeah, no, we should check in. How you going?
I'm good. Hey, my hot takes are slightly cooling down to regular takes, which is good. I think I've had time to decompress. I think this is the advantage of being on the correct time zone for a Formula One race like this because, Sunday afternoon, had a beer, had some yogurt-coated peanuts.
Flipping tables at the results. Just not happy, Jan.
But, that gave me the whole day to decompress and just to be like, you know what? Palate cleanse with other things, remember there's more to life than Formula One. So now, these couple of days later, these are a warm take. Yep. Lukewarm takes.
I love it. I've had nearly 2 whole nights, I guess 1.5 nights of sleep to deal with it. So I'm beyond well rested. My takes are beyond like warm. They're sort of like they're tepid. They're tepid takes, I would say.
We've both got stewed takes right now. When you get curry and then you got leftovers and they taste better the next day because they've had more time to like sit in their flavors. That's what I think anyway. Our takes are like that now. They've stewed, reduced down. We've got a fine jus of a takes for you.
People are furious that we're spending so much time with stew talk. We should get into the race review.
Let us race a bit. I gave him space.
Let's hurry up and get out of here. We've got a race to do.
All right, Zach. For the last time this year, we're going to do a 30-second race recap. You've got to sum up the race in 30 seconds. It's all over to you. I have a timer. I will say go and stop because I know sometimes you're getting old. Hearing the timer isn't always the easiest thing for you to do, but I'll give you very clear. I'll wave my hands. Great. Start, stop, and it's up to you. Recap the whole race in 30 seconds. Ready? I'm waiting for you to say yes.
Oh, yes.
All right, then. Get ready and go.
Hamilton pressed the go button and Verstappen seemingly just forgot how to do it. And Hamilton was like, I might just win this race. And Verstappen's like, no way, man. I'm going to make this stupid overtake happen really early. And he tried to, and he just pushed Hamilton off the track. Or maybe he didn't. Well, the stewards didn't think anything went wrong. And Hamilton just drove off down the road and it was all fine and well. We had a couple more crashes. And every single opportunity Verstappen had to put on fresh tires, he did. And every single opportunity Hamilton didn't, he didn't. And we got this crazy little bit of oddness at the end, which led to Verstappen winning the championship.
I was worried you weren't going to get past the first lap, but I'm glad.
That might be my best one.
We don't need to say anything else. That covers it all. So Max Verstappen, champion, you probably heard. We said before the race, before the episode this week, before we started recording, wouldn't it be great if we disagreed on whether, we were cool with it, angry about it, upset about it, confused about it, ambiguous about it? I don't know. Do we just lay our cards on the table? Do we say at the same time, 3, 2, 1, how we feel?
Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's do 3, 2, 1, how we feel.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, then how we feel. 3, 2, 1, go, but go is how we feel. You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. It's fine.
Ambivalent.
Okay. Cool. Man, we shouldn't... I don't know. Why are we doing the show?
Why do we have a podcast?
Care, apparently.
We don't need feelings. We said lukewarm. Tell me, why do you feel fine? Give it to me.
As it was happening, this is the thing. As it was happening, I think I was just pushing back against all the reaction of, especially Toto Wolff, going like, no, Michael, no, you got it wrong. No, it's me. I should win. And I was just like, this is like, what's he done wrong? What's he done wrong? there's nothing wrong. What's he done wrong? Point to the thing that he's done wrong. Lots of people pointed to things that they thought he did wrong, but he had the rule book on his side, Michael Massey, and said, no, I didn't do anything wrong. Look at all these things. So my first reaction was, holy fucking shit, that's a bit amazing. What an amazing finish. That was worth staying up for, worth getting up for. But after a while, I was like, oh, look, no, it's fine. No, it's okay. Look, it is okay. So that was my thought process. And now I'm coming to terms with it.
Yeah, I am somewhere similar to that, but more frustration at having... It's what it represents to me. Right, which is that the sport's a mess, and it's been a mess for a little bit of time.
Sure.
And the rules are kind of crazy, and I think all of I'm not going to say like handshake agreements, but I think that it's become so close. We're at the end of a formula. It's become incredibly close, especially at the top between Mercedes and Red Bull, that everybody's just pushing everything to the nth degree all the time. And that's why the rule book is like 6,000 pages and somewhat inscrutable. And the teams every week are like, but that wing flexed when I looked at it too hard. But then when we put it under a thing that squishes the wing, it bent, but didn't bend enough.
Wing
and then
squisher.
We're going to complain. And just all of this stuff that either used to happen in the background and it wasn't that important to all of us, or that it's just more likely it's become absolute tit for tat. And I think it takes away the spectacle of the racing. The best thing about this weekend was that at least Verstappen had to overtake Hamilton. At least that
yes.
We got that, right? At least it wasn't just, they crashed into each other, or it was done in the pit stops, and they were never even close.
There's that to talk about, because obviously that was, I think, the fear was that it would all, they would smash into each other, someone would smash into a wall, someone would push each other off the track, and it would get nasty and angry and ugly. At least that didn't really happen, and I think coming away from it, no matter how you feel about the result or how we got there, I don't think anybody is looking at the drivers and saying, this is your fault. Bloody Max Verstappen, I hate you, and this is your fault. Hamilton, I bloody hate you, and this is your fault. No one's saying anything like that, which is actually...
No.
I think that's not where anyone expected to be, and everyone that's not happy isn't sure where to put their angriness, other than to point the finger at Michael Massey. And I mean, as he said, he didn't think that he did anything wrong. He definitely was pulling some strings to achieve a specific result. I don't think I would go as far as saying he was pulling the strings to make sure that Verstappen won or anything, though. So it's a strange old one. But yeah, F1 Twitter really exploded in a really weird way after the race.
Yeah, I mean, situations like this are really odd, because I don't think that Michael Massey and his team would have made this decision if it wasn't the last race of the season that was deciding the championship. I don't think this would have...
True.
What if there were 10 cars between Verstappen and Hamilton? Would they have unlapped those 10? What if there was 18 cars between the two of them? Would they have unlapped those 18?
Or even if Verstappen had overtaken Hamilton, it wouldn't have been enough to win the championship. Maybe then you'd be like, well, we don't need to do that. We don't need to orchestrate anything because, but maybe they still would. I just don't know. You don't really know that.
I don't think they would have. I genuinely don't think that they would have gone out of their way.
At least you get the final result of you get the final lap of action. You might still say if you're Hamilton, look, I don't like that, but at least I still won the championship. But I don't know. Maybe they still would have wanted the action of the race.
Yeah, but there are as well. Should we just cover off a little bit? I don't know. I'm sure everybody who's listening has watched it, but let's break it down. Let's jump to the end and break it down, because I would like to circle back at some point to the Verstappen overtake on Hamilton.
We will.
But essentially, we've got the Latifi crashes with 5 laps to go, in a pretty busy, narrow part of the track, right?
I think it was 7 laps, but the safety car came out with 5 laps still remaining, 5 full laps remaining. I think that was the equation.
So, and because you've got overtake cars and stuff, it's kind of hard to know where everybody is. But essentially, it was like, oof, that's not an easy spot to get a car out of the way. It's probably going to go full safety car, and it did. Now, in other circumstances, the race director has a few options, right? Virtual safety car, full safety car, red flag the race. I can imagine he went safety car first and gone, we could probably get that off the track in 2 or 3 laps. Get rid of the debris. We'll get racing again. It's the end. we might get a couple of laps. But then all of the questions of what usually happens, which is when you get a safety car, the unlapped cars unlap themselves so that everybody can get on the proper lead lap, and it becomes a bit more competitive, and you get all of the back markers out of the way so that the people who are actually competing can compete with each other. That's always pretty reasonable. We've had lots of discussions about whether that should happen or not. Put that all to one side, but that's usually the what happens. They decided this time, well, there's not much race left to go, so we're not going to allow them to unlap themselves. And, I'm sure Red Bull got on the radio to Michael Massey and was like, no, don't do that. They'll get in our way and you're just giving the championship to Hamilton. Whatever, that's an accusation from me. But essentially, it's yes or no is what we're all used to as fans, and essentially what the rule book says. You either unlap them or you don't. But then, it all happens so fast, and this is what I find so disconcerting, because even as a fan with all the information, it happened incredibly fast, let alone to the teams and drivers. But the race director just went, you know what? We are going to unlap the cars, but only these people between Verstappen and Hamilton, because seemingly they're the only guys that matter. There are other cars between other drivers, down the field that also, would have meant different drivers getting on the podium or fighting for wins or all of this kind of stuff. But they only unlapped those 5, and then the race was suddenly back on. Then it was like, and also the safety cars coming in, which is also not in the rule book, because generally when you unlap the cars, the safety car comes in the next lap. I'm putting this all down, by the way, to John Noble's excellent piece in Autosport that lays out all of this stuff and is very reasonable. And if you want all the information, go to there, look at John Noble's Twitter, or go to Autosport and read the full article there. But essentially, 2 rules/protocols were not broken is one word, but gone against the expectation. Every team there and every staff member didn't expect this to happen. But then the race director is saved by the clause which just says, well, the race director can do whatever they like, essentially, which is all, I think, a symbol of why F1 is so difficult right now and why it's broken, because there's not really, you might as well just not have the huge rule book in these circumstances, because, it was just about manufacturing something that suited what the race director and maybe what Formula One wanted in the end, which was one lap of racing, regardless of how fair or unfair that was. So that sets the stage. Have I missed anything? Does that make sense?
You haven't missed anything. For sure, let me know when you want me to add something, talk against, talk in support of anything you want me to do. But if you've got more you want to unpack. That's what I'm saying.
It made it difficult, I think, for F1 people watching Formula One, and by goodness, there are a lot of people who have started watching Formula One this year. Great for them, and lucky to have you, and I'm glad you're all here. Welcome to the complexities and kind of stupidness of what Formula One is in these circumstances, which is inconsistent.
You thought you knew what F1 was, but now you really know what you're in for when you follow F1. Truly.
Yeah. That 1 minute of where everything kind of went back and forth and crazy. I've never seen that in Formula One before. I've never seen anything like it, because Formula One usually errs on the side, in these circumstances, I think, usually errs on the side of, well, we'll just finish it under the safety car. That's racing. Sometimes that happens. Sky crash really close to the end. We're going to be really safe. We're going to clean everything up, make sure there's no debris. We're going to put all the safety in everybody first. We're not going to do anything crazy and complicated. We're going to do what everybody expects and all the teams understand the rules to be. But instead, did something completely different that surprised everybody and makes me feel like we got a manufactured result, when there are other alternatives that many people have brought up that didn't occur to me at the time, but we've seen before, which is just red flag the race then. If you want 3 or 4 laps of racing that's really close, red flag, everybody can rearrange, we'll get the order right, everybody can have fresh tires, and we'll get a little 4-lap sprint race. How amazing would that be? Talk about a finale. But instead we got this, Verstappen was always going to get past Hamilton. It couldn't have been more of a disadvantage for Hamilton. Those tires are so old, and Verstappen was on the freshest tires with all of the all obstacles removed. I'm surprised that Hamilton even was able to fight it out for half a lap, let alone that long. So yeah, it just felt like a really inconsistent decision. So what did you feel?
Well, I mean, my first reaction, having digested it a little bit, is that like the decisions made in this race at the end are not going to go down in the textbook for how you run an F1 race and how you adjudicate safety protocols and stuff. 100% will not be the textbook result. 100% agree with the comment that it was orchestrated to get a shootout between basically the top two drivers on the last lap. Completely agree with all of that. Completely agree that it's like heartbreaking, the hardest of breaks for Hamilton, completely gutting, and he must feel completely like hung out to dry. And, you know, maybe he's entitled to feel that way. I think that, I think a lot of the justifications that people have come up with have mostly been justifications because they wanted Hamilton to win, if I'm being honest. Someone did, I don't know, I haven't looked into this, but someone pointed out that the whole why didn't you just red flag the race is the reason being is because there has to be something kind of permanently unsafe about the track for it to run. Otherwise, safety car is the appropriate way to handle it. So, I mean, like, that's fine. Nothing else was really handled in the textbook way, but I guess, sure, okay.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
I think that that's a rule that we need to look at and think about. I think we also want to stop, maybe just stop short of overreacting to this one incident and change all the rules. I mean, for sure, there's a case that a lot of rules should be relooked at, but I mean, there would be plenty of just dead rubber races where a safety car in the last 5 laps calling a red flag and resetting everything it maybe wouldn't be appropriate. It might just prolong an unnecessarily, race, But I don't know. Maybe it's something we should look at in the last 10 laps. No safety cars. Only stop the race and restart. Have a restart always. But then what if you have 5 safety cars in those 10 laps? I mean, how far do you want it to go? So I just don't really know. For sure, they do things that are artificial that orchestrate, especially the end of a race. Like if there's a safety car, it pulls into the pit lane so that it's not in the photos and the TV footage and stuff. They do lots of things for the show. And I mean, if you have been watching Formula One thinking this is a great sport and you didn't realize it was a show, well, now I think we've got our answer now. There's no doubt anymore. It's a show.
Yeah. Entertainment
the whole unlapping half of the cars. I mean, all of the lapped cars, and with 1 lap to go, no one's really going to unlap themselves, and they're only going to get blue flagged and they're only going to have to get out of the way, right? So it's pretty nullified on a 1 lap situation. Unless there's a regulation that says you shouldn't only let half of the lapped cars go and the other half don't get to unlap themselves. Unless there's a regulation that says that, then I just don't know what you can point to be like, well, you did the wrong thing. But again, for sure, that was about orchestrating. Let's just get the cars out of the way so that we can focus on Hamilton and Verstappen and see what the last lap let it bring what it may. Maybe Verstappen has a lunge, crashes, and Hamilton wins. Who knows? No one's going to know that, and you don't really want the people making the decisions to think about the consequences for one driver or another. You want them to make what they think is the best decision, at the moment. And it'll be a debate that rages on. Did Messi intentionally give it to Verstappen for whatever reason? Who knows why? Look, I don't think so, but I mean, you can debate either way.
No, I don't think he did. I think he said exactly what he was doing when he spoke to Toto, on the radio. Toto was
we have to talk about the radio calls.
You're crazy. and Messi just literally went, well, Toto, that's racing. And it was like, ooh.
So what did you think of that?
Pardon?
Well, what did you...
What did I think of that?
What did you think of, first of all, Toto talking to Messi like that and Messi's response?
I think that Toto would be... to work with Toto because this is the awkward thing about Formula One. This is going to be a long answer, but I think it's important. And we're at the end of the year, and I think this is how to
Let's take some time.
Let's take some time. Let's really live in it. Stew on this, as it were. Messi is in a very difficult position. And I don't think he has the respect or necessarily the clout within Formula One to deal with some of these team principles, specifically Christian Horner and Toto Wolff, but especially Toto Wolff. I would not want to come up against Toto Wolff in almost any circumstance. He is a driven guy, by all accounts, a smart guy. I don't know him personally, but he sounds like he's running a very good outfit there at Mercedes for quite a while and is pretty good.
Let me ask you though, when you say he doesn't have the clout, do you mean he doesn't see himself as having the clout, or others don't see him as having the authority? You know what I mean?
I don't think.
Or both.
others necessarily see him as an authority in Formula One. I think that was always going to be difficult in a post like Charlie Whiting world. But especially when tempers run high and the championship is so close and there's been so many line calls that's been so unclear and things change every week. And you've heard even like random drivers talking about like, I don't really know what to do in this circumstance. Like, am I allowed to go for that gap or not? Are we allowed to do X? I have no idea. So I'm just going to kind of race on the edge and see. Like, it's gotten so up its own butt, Formula One, that it just can't really make sense of it. And that puts Massey in a really difficult position. I really don't agree with team principals being able to call the race director and be like, oh my, because he's not like a referee. He's the guy like making the race happen, not the guy who's making the decisions.
That's a good call. I mean, he's not only just like adjudicating on you get a penalty for this or that, because he's literally not the one making that decision. That he defers that on, he refers it on. But he's also the one that's like, I have to actually run the race. It's like if you're a football umpire, like it's your job to also sell the hot dogs, to like keep the lights on, to make sure the lines are nice and white and painted fresh. He has to do all that stuff.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even know what that's a great analogy. Like he's doing all of this other stuff and ensuring the safety of the thing as well. Like so much about that. However, all of that being said, he's also deciding the outcome of this race. And not just in a, like, that's what I find really difficult here is that the decision he made to unlap those 5 cars between Lewis and Max, he was making a decision about the outcome, which was these two have to fight for the championship. And so this is, and we will do that under all circumstances. Like I will manufacture this race to the point where those two are next to each other for this final little stint or final lap. Right. And that's why it's difficult, I think, to kind of understand, because every decision made in those few minutes was to try to get to that outcome. And I don't think they were made for any other reason. And this is what I mean by, traditionally, Formula One makes the decision to be like, 1 lap to go. It's just a safety car, let's not worry about it. It's not all won on this one race, but Formula One as an entertainment product had built this race up as the title fight. Like all of the imagery was like Lewis and Max standing against each other with the cup in the middle at the anthem being like, here we go, we're about to punch each other.
I didn't even realize it as we were doing last week's show, but right after we did last week's show, I started to realize like there's so much hype about this race. Like this is being hyped as the race of the century. Like it couldn't be closer. People who have never, like you say, never been interested in Formula One before or are suddenly, new converts to the sport, they know the situation. They know that there's no points between the two drivers. They know it's going to go down to the wire. They're expecting argy-bargy. All of a sudden, everyone's talking about the race, thinking about it, excited about it, looking at their Monday morning schedule going, what can I cancel so I can watch this race?
Yeah.
I do want to open a new tab and talk about, in that new tab, we will put discussion of the final lap and how it went down. But before we close off the tab about the radio, I want to talk about Christian Horner, Toto Wolff, talking to race control. You said that they shouldn't be doing it. I completely agree. It's gone way too far. And I don't know if it's always been like that or been like that for a long time and we just haven't heard all of it. They've got to stop. They've got to stop the whinging and complaining. It's too much. It should be extreme circumstances that you are literally talking to the race director during a race. But no, they're just on there any single time, all of the time, and complaining all of the time throughout the entire race about any little thing.
They coerce it. They're trying to coerce him.
Absolutely, it's coercion and it needs to be stopped. It needs to be stamped out. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. I mean, you saw both sides of it. You saw during the virtual safety car, Toto Wolff going, no safety car, that's not fair, no safety car, Michael, no safety car. And it's like, what the fuck? It's his call. This is a safety situation. You shouldn't be dictating to him how he runs the race. And then during the during the full safety car, we saw Christian saying, come on, Michael, you got to get the restart of the car's gone now. Come on, the car's gone. You got to restart the race. Get it going. You only need 1 lap. And that's, of course, what he ended up getting. So, look, I mean, I don't want to say that pressure made the difference, but I mean, he feels that pressure. Michael, you could tell that Michael was feeling that pressure. He was like, I've got to clear this car. Christian, just stop talking to me for a minute. I've got to clear this car. And then, post race or during the cancellation of the safety car, Toto's, the infamous, no, Michael, no, this is not fair. And then Michael saying this is a car race. I thought that it was really, I thought that it was too late in that moment to put Toto back in his place. It was too late to do it then. He needed to have done it earlier. And his response was super awkward, almost disrespectful, I would say. Not that like he has to show respect just because Toto's a team principal, but it's almost like too much of a put down and just not clever enough or not. I'm not sure what he was trying to say. Like, what does it even mean? We're running a car race. Does he think he doesn't know that it's a car race? It was a weird response.
And I think that Massey's hiding behind it. I mean, I
a little bit, yeah.
I genuinely think he made a mistake. I think he made a human error that he's gone, well, fuck, we'll just, I can imagine him going like, well, we'll just do one lap then. And then it's like, I wonder if someone next to him was like, you know that Max is on new tyres and Hamilton's tyres are from last week.
He can't have not known, right?
Yeah, like, I imagine, but I could also imagine he was like, well, let's get them racing for a lap at least, and then that'll be interesting.
Yeah. I can imagine that he was like, I can defend that position, but also it's not my problem who's leading, who's not, who's going to win, who's not, and who pitted and who didn't. If Hamilton wanted to pit, he could have pitted. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Look, there's an interesting strategy call to be made there. I mean, this felt very well. Let's open the new tab on that about Mercedes strategy calls as well. If we're going to talk about the specifics of the race, because we can go round and round. I don't even think we're going round and round on this situation. I don't think,
because here's the thing: if Hamilton was the one that pitted for tyres and then Verstappen didn't, and the safety car did go to the end of the race, well, then Hamilton's thrown away the championship. So I mean, it really puts them in a tough call. And I mean, it could have gone literally either way.
Yeah. Well, do you think Massey would have made that call if do you think
well that's the thing, you would like to think he would have made the same call, but
you know, I don't know.
Don't know. Would it have been better
they're
to
all
leave
conspiracy
the 5
theorists.
cars? Would it have been better to leave the 5 cars there and say to Verstappen, okay, you want to get down Hamilton, you've got to pass these 5 cars and then have a go at Hamilton.
Normal race
Maybe they
conditions.
run side by side to the end of the. I think that would have been the preferred option. I would have preferred to see that over a red flag. That would have been pod racing for sure.
Yeah, and then we could have heard Christian Horner getting on the radio to Ferrari being like, hey, Carlos is my old boy. Could you tell him to get out of the way for Max? And then having to do it for
super controversy.
Sonoda as well, and Gasly. Would have had to call those guys too.
Call of the race goes to someone in the Discord who says, what is this? Let me find it because I want to get it exactly right. Huge call. Bottas bins it on the last turn before the restart.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Extend that safety car. I mean, he would have they would have cancelled George Russell signing. Bottas returning for a 6th year.
Sorry, let me retrace my steps there. It wouldn't have been a call to Sainz because whilst he did finish third, he was not one of the lapped cars that unlapped themselves.
That's the thing, though. I mean, all of this talk about them orchestrating the result for Hamilton and Verstappen. Did you even know who finished third until Sainz was being interviewed to say, hey, congratulations, you finished third?
And he was so happy about it.
But that is validation. Who cares? That wasn't what everyone was focused on, right?
No, it was crazy. I wonder if I haven't looked, but I wonder if it had ramifications further down the grid for.
I know Sonoda finished P4, not for the championship. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, for the Constructors' Championship, I wonder if this had any.
I don't believe so.
No, because the lapped cars that wouldn't have done anything, but it might have made it easier for somebody else to get past. I don't know, but in the end,
I don't know.
Drawing the lines going backwards. Yeah, go on.
Yes. I was going to say, here's another idea. If you have to restart the race with 1 lap to go, if you're a lapped car, you just have to pit. You just retire. Your race is done. How about that? The safety car comes in, you follow it in shame.
Because you're so far behind.
I mean, it does the job, right?
Just get out. Yeah.
Yeah. Just get out right now.
Stuff like that. Look, to me, and this is what I was chewing over all Sunday afternoon when I was trying to not think about it anymore. I was just like, that's rough because it feels like every single decision that was made, each decision you go like, who will this benefit? Oh, this will benefit Red Bull and Max.
I know what you mean.
Oh, this one. Oh, this will benefit Red Bull and Max. Have we ever done this before? No. Have we ever done this before? No.
Well, what about what about the first corner then?
No, this is what I just meant about that last little bit, and I don't personally believe that. I think that the decisions were made quickly. I fundamentally do not believe that Formula One was trying to orchestrate Max Verstappen to win the Grand Prix and the World Championship. That is not what happened. I think that they tried to manufacture as best they could a situation where the two guys who were fighting the championship were fighting it out on the last lap. And I think that's incontrovertible. I think that is 100% true. Otherwise, we would have unlapped all the cars or none of the cars. The specifically unlapped those 5 is proof that they wanted Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen to start almost side by side for 1 lap. And you know what? If I'm an entertainment product, I fucking want that too, man. I want them to crash. I want something to happen.
Absolutely.
So,
I think Michael Massey got a big bonus after this race.
a big bonus.
Tell me about.
Do you want to talk Verstappen Hamilton crash? non-crash incident.
Right after I finish this, open a tab on that,
great.
put that in that tab.
Yep.
The tab I want to finish is the last lap. So I know it's a different situation, but how come Perez could hold up Hamilton for like 20 seconds or something, but then Hamilton can't hold up Verstappen for even one corner? And then Hamilton must have known that Verstappen was going to lunge. Why didn't he defend it?
Because Hamilton knows that I personally think that if Hamilton knows Verstappen well enough that if he goes to defend it, Verstappen's coming through anyway.
On a lunge.
Driving into him. And because it doesn't matter. Because in the end, if they both get taken out, Verstappen wins the championship.
Penalty if you do that.
Yeah, but what kind of penalty?
I just mean
points penalty? No. In the end, Hamilton had to play a passive run. You ever see these in video games where you have to finish the game without shooting or hurting anyone?
No damage. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that Hamilton had to run that race. The Buddhist get out of the way. Yeah, exactly.
That's a good time. God mode, I think. I think that played into like I said, I sort of touched on the Perez thing because Perez slowed down Hamilton for so much time, which was, I think, an incredible and interesting, entertaining talking point because that usually doesn't happen. Hamilton usually breezes right past whoever's in front of him. But I think at the back of his mind was, Perez, please don't take me out. Please don't take me out. I can't afford that. So it was a different Hamilton that we saw.
Also, that was just on that, I think the reason we saw that in that was such technicolor was because usually the team doesn't sacrifice a driver's entire race for that. And that's what Perez was doing. He was sacrificing his strategy. He was sacrificing his tires. He was sacrificing everything to keep Hamilton behind him. So it was the ultimate circumstance where Hamilton's like, I need a full car's width to get around you, man. And you're not giving me anything. And you are braking way later than me. You are taking the wrong line. You're doing everything.
Mental.
And under normal circumstances, I think Hamilton would have been like, well, I'm just going to put my car on the apex then. And if you drive into me, well, then guess what? You're going to get a penalty. It's going to look really bad and we'll go on to the next race. But it's like he just couldn't have that. So he had to find the ultimate point to catch him. And at the same time, Verstappen's like, I'm just going to drive the wheels off this car. So
I think it was the combination of all three of those things. Hamilton couldn't afford a crash. Verstappen was flying at that point. And then also Perez was like, I'm sure that they had told Perez, look, I know normally when we tell you to hold someone up, you sort of try a bit and then they just pass you on the straight. That cannot happen this week. You must get squirrely. You must drive a curveball down the straight.
Puncture your own oil tank. Do something.
Whatever it takes. It could get your elbows the heck out. Don't just get your elbows out. Smash his nose with your elbows. That's the goal here. I'm sure that he was worded up in a very particularly completely unambiguous way. You must defend 100 times harder than you've ever defended any car ever. I'm sure.
I just imagine he's pulling the plastic, the pull-off visors off his helmet, trying to throw them into Hamilton's airbox. So just come on, just get
he's taking a drink of water and spitting it over his shoulder. Anything.
Taking his gloves off, throwing them out the car.
Sir, I demand satisfaction. What was the tab that we had open? The start.
Yeah, let's talk about Verstappen's overtake at the start.
Again, the lunge. So Verstappen way back, he lunges. You tweeted this that you thought it was a bit unfair or that it was predictable that he was going to lunge or do anything. But he kept it on the track. I don't think it was too unreasonable.
Yeah.
What he did.
It is one of those situations where Hamilton gave him the door and left it ajar and was like, here it is.
Gave him the door. It's no longer a door. The door is ajar.
The famous F1 saying, giving someone the door, as opposed to the more famous one of leaving the door open. Don't know why I opted for that. It's been a long season.
No, don't worry about it.
Which was odd.
But
maybe he was like, I know that if Verstappen's going to go through there, the chances of him making the corner are so small. Like he's going to either get a flat spot, he's going to have to really get on the brakes to make this corner.
Sure.
And he only makes it because Hamilton's off, round, Hamilton didn't even fight the corner essentially.
No,
because Verstappen was like, it's mine.
True.
Cool. I know I don't have to give you any space because you can't crash into me because we'll both be out.
I think he was expecting Verstappen not to make the corner, which he actually did. And then Hamilton was just like, there's so much runoff here. I could just cut across, basically halfway across the country, just go straight across here. But then Verstappen says straight away he has to give that back. He didn't have to give it back, but the ruling was that he gained some advantage, but he had given that back by the end of the first lap. I absolutely did not see that whatsoever.
Nope.
So
he was 1.7 seconds in front. And it was like, where was that advantage given back?
This is when Red Bull were on the radio complaining and whinging. And I was like, I don't like you whinging, but also kind of right. He definitely gained a huge advantage there and has not given it back. So I thought that was dodgy. I thought that was weird.
It's an interesting argument, though. I can see the other side of it, which is that, well, Verstappen wrecked his own corner to make that corner. Like, that is not how you take that corner. That is not a fast way around that corner. If there was nobody else there and you had, like, and if you took the corner that way, yeah, I can see that taking a second and a half out of your lap time. That was an insane way to take a corner. And so, yeah, maybe when you only finish 1.5 seconds behind the guy who's leading because, you basically stopped your car to keep it in the lines, maybe that's why.
I don't know. I mean, you always lose time when you're racing someone, or especially probably when you're overtaking and going on the dirty track of the line and all the rest of it. But I think that the explanation given doesn't make sense, that Hamilton gave back any of the advantage. I mean, I'm not even saying Hamilton didn't have to take evasive action and that wasn't reasonable. That's completely reasonable. But he definitely gained an advantage that wasn't given back. That's my point. Anyway, move on from that. That's
Do you want to talk about Mercedes' strategy then? Because the 2 times that they could have got cheap stops, they chose not to.
Yeah, I feel like I've already covered the last one.
Yeah, let's talk virtual safety car then. Who was it that whose car died? Someone's died? Was it Raikkonen's car? No. Yes?
I feel like it was earlier for Raikkonen. Not sure.
Yeah, Raikkonen retired, and then I was like, put him in Giovinazzi's car, and then literally 2 laps later, Giovinazzi's car gave up. So that wasn't going to happen. We should know this. Anyway, there's get the virtual safety car. And there's not an Hamilton, I think, is just passing the pits when they call a virtual safety car, so he gets a bit bad luck there. And then he's like, "We're not going to be able to pit, are we?" And they're like, "Sorry, Lewis, don't worry about it. Track position's more important." This happens like, "Coming in, fresh tires."
I think the decision there was a little bit like, again, if we give up the lead, even if we've gone fresh tyres, it's not worth it. I think Verstappen gambling and taking the tyres there and then not really closing down and winding up any closer, that was painful. I think also that time that Perez stole off Hamilton really paid dividends there, because if Hamilton was far enough ahead, there's no doubt, and we should probably get to this too, Hamilton was streets ahead of Verstappen in this race. Even though Verstappen took pole, Hamilton was blitzing at this race, and I think that's why it's so hard for so many people to swallow, because it seemed like he was the deserving winner of this race. But the time that Perez stole off Hamilton meant that Hamilton just didn't have that buffer, so that when there was the virtual safety car, he could just pit, or even if Verstappen pits, he could have pitted as well. That was just gone. So I don't know.
Oh, talk about Perez? all the luck, I feel like, went
sure, that's a better way
this race.
All the luck went
all of it. And that's what happens. That's racing, Rod. God, back in your box. It's called car race. Yeah. But that's exactly how it felt like. I mean, I think we very rarely talk about qualifying, but I think Red Bull got it wrong. They qualified on softs. That was bad.
But that was because he flat spotted the tyre and then had no other tyres left, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have a very complete weekend.
It didn't go well, for sure.
And the start was bad. Hamilton was faster all day, and it was just like manna from heaven that they got a virtual safety car and a real safety car and a restart. Like, it was just, it's amazing. It's a miracle, and they called it that. Like, we need a miracle to win this. Hey, a miracle! How about that?
Yeah, they very much said that. They talked to Christian Horner. I think it was about 10 laps to go, and it must have been an orchestrated thing. Like, we'll talk to you with 10 laps to go, but he was like, "Yeah, look, we've just got no answer for them," and then all of a sudden, boom. And here's an answer for you. How do you like the sound of World Championship winner?
That's so exactly what they would do and say.
I don't know if there's anything.
Do you think it'll go to the Court of Arbitration of Sport?
I don't think
this
it will.
Stuff kind of does.
I think that they had to protest, not so that they would win the protest, but so that they could appeal. And then, the thing for me would be, it's going to cost them a lot of money, so they have to be sure there's something to gain. It wouldn't change the championship, the constructors' championship result, which is where the prize money is. I think if the championship for the constructors was at stake, they probably would throw everything at it. If it's just for Hamilton, they might say to him, "It's up to you. If you want us to do it, we will. If you would rather move on, we will support that as well." So I get the feeling they'll do that. I think Hamilton will say, "I just want to move on, man." far out man, so on, blah, 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 blah. Hamilton too, he was, bad news Bono got on the radio and said, I'm speechless, but even more speechless than him was Hamilton, who I think even now, 3 days after the race, he still hasn't uttered a single word the whole time. It's incredible. Remaining incredibly quiet about it.
There
but I
was
think
the
they'll leave it up
unplayed
to
radio
him.
message, right?
Yes, that's true.
That finish feels manipulated. I think that's
not
far off. That's kind of how I feel. I think that last race was manipulated.
I think he means that in a specific way. I would agree it's manipulated, but not in the way he means.
Yeah,
it's very coded the way he means it. They're very. Yeah, I won't say that.
I think you're probably right.
No.
I have a point
Go
on the Court of Arbitration of Sport point, which hadn't occurred to me until you just said that then about it being up to Hamilton. I think the problem that might get in the way there is what you actually said earlier, which is that
I'm on fire this week.
You've got a double.
So many points.
It wasn't a driver error or anything like that. It wasn't something that's like, well, that driver drove into me, or they should get a bigger penalty, or why was that allowed to happen? Which means, because it's not driver to driver, then it's going to be very difficult, I think, in a court of arbitration of sport to be like, well, they made the wrong call here about this driver or this. There should have been a penalty here or something like that. I think that's going to be more difficult to do. And so maybe Mercedes will be like, ugh.
When one driver protests another driver, they're on even footings. When your protest is against the people who run the actual sport, who literally hold all the power, the deck is stacked against you.
Exactly.
And you could point to the rule in black and white that says whatever this guy says goes no matter what. What's your comeback to that? I just don't.
Regardless if you're a QC or not, I don't think there's any. I think anybody's just going to be like, but that's the law though. So
it's like losing at blackjack and then going, nah, this dealer's got it in for me. It's like, well, he's the dealer, so who cares? Like what he says goes.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was interesting though, also the comment that Mercedes had brought a QC with them, a lawyer, like come to the race with us. We're going to bring our lawyers to the race. Not even here's a lawyer we just found, or there's an appeal in 3 days. Let's bring our lawyers to that. They brought one to the race, so they came expecting they came expecting to appeal, to challenge.
This is the team that's been the best for a generation of an entire formula. This is why, because they're prepared. They think about stuff. They're like, hey, you know what? This could get mental. Let's make sure we have why would you? Hey, it might be a knife fight. Maybe I'll bring a knife. Whereas people are like, we're too cool for that. Actually, we just bring cars and fast drivers and wheels. We're the underdogs of this sport. That's what gets me the most. I can't. I cannot get around Red Bull's whole deal, and this has nothing to do with Max Verstappen.
Okay.
I think he's a winner.
You don't have to like it.
I think they all are, but I used to like Red Bull quite a lot, and now I'm like, guys, you're one of the best teams in Formula One, maybe ever. Don't come at me with this sport doesn't want us. We are, everything's against us. Everything's against Max. Everything's against me. It's like, is that all you need to get yourselves out of bed in the morning to feel like you're the underdogs? You're one of the two dominant powers in Formula One. Like, Ferrari can't even lay a glove on you, and they're supposedly super dominant. Like, you've got to race at your own track in your own country. Like, it's literally called the Red Bull Ring. Like, how much more can the sport love you? There is no, I don't know. But I said to a friend of mine that Formula One needs a villain, and I'd said pre-race that I had hoped that we would get a heartbreaking, like Hamilton would overtake Verstappen on the last lap and break Verstappen's heart in half, and we would end up with Verstappen being this villain for the rest of his career.
Because I think frame where his heart breaks.
Yeah, that's what I want, right? And I think, and because Max was always going to win a championship, he is unequivocally one of the greatest racers I've ever seen. Like, he is so good, and has wrung performances out of this car that I don't know many other people in the grid or in Formula One could have done. And the other guy who could have done it is Lewis Hamilton, who he's racing every week. So it's a difficult one for me, but I would have loved to have seen villainous Hamilton. I wanted to see Two-Face. Well,
maybe this will break him. Maybe,
if
this is, I was going to say, if this is a Star Wars film, maybe this is The Empire Strikes Back, where it's like the scene is set for the final stage of Hamilton's career where he comes back, but maybe not. Maybe this is Hamilton turning into Darth Vader.
Yeah, Maybe. Can I just say one more thing to give myself some kudos?
Okay, yep.
No, I like it. I said at the start of the season that Perez will be the difference, and maybe he was. Maybe he was.
Maybe he was. I did mean to pull up our preseason predictions because I'm pretty sure that I got most of mine right.
Oh.
Shame I didn't do that. If you're sick of us talking about Verstappen and Hamilton, we could talk about how Kimi Raikkonen's career has ended with a whimper, not a bang. Yuki Tsunoda P4, pretty good. Like I said, signs right there. Who knew? Who knew he was P3? I didn't.
Definitely not me.
Those are other things that happened in the race anyway. That wraps up our race review. Right? Unless there's anything else I've missed.
No, man.
I think we covered all the important stuff in far too much detail.
I don't think we've ever done that much on a race. That was good. We had a lot to work through.
It was. People expect it. We should get onto fantasy focus. Speaking about how things wrapped up and the end of things, let's see how the race and the league went. Which one do you want to do?
Let's do the race
ready
first,
to go
right?
this week. Yeah, race first. Do you want me to do that?
Have you got that?
How about I do that? I'll pull it right up now. So the top three that you want in position, the number 3, Bug Study GP by F1 Statman. Oh, well done. You're in the top.
Hey.
You're in the top 3 level on points, but behind somehow in position 3, 175 points with position the number 2, Aston Farton. Pretty good by Craig Hammett. And then top spot this week, just here for the snacks by Paul C on a mighty 184 points. Let me just hit the little profile icon in jest because I know that doesn't work. Actually, it worked for me this time. Me somehow on the 4th page now, 76th position, Amplified Ducks Racing, which means that maybe everyone else ahead of me went up. Let me find you. Zachary Priest,
that's me.
64.
Ooh.
Zero Engineering, 92 points this week. So he did much better than me. Who knows what that has implications for in terms of the championship? Maybe that means I beat you. Probably not.
It probably won't, though. Because I pay a lot of attention and really play the game.
Unlike
keeping
me.
track of all the points and who's good. I haven't changed my team since like the 7th race or something. I think I used all my changes every race. And I was like, well, that's it.
Right.
Here we go. Come on, Daniel, do your thing.
I have a feeling that there's big movings at the top of the league overall.
There is. Okay, let's start. In 3rd position. Excuse me, just get everything working. Me. Okay, in 3rd position, having risen 1 position week to week, High Rake the Forest from Big Nick House, friend of the show. Oh, nice person. 3,000.
Knocking out Leclerc Dynamics.
Knocking out Leclerc Dynamics from team manager Tim T. Brown, which is, that's rough. With a great name of Leclerc Dynamics, I feel bad. But at the same time, 3,049.5 points from Big Nick House team High Rake the Forest. That's a lot of points.
So many.
Congratulations to everybody who crossed over the 3,000 point mark, including Ipithus and Leclerc Dynamics, and also these next few people I'm going to talk about, which, my oh my, this was the one, people were watching Verstappen and Hamilton, but really I was more concerned with these 2 drivers. In 2nd place, Yucknut and the French Gasly from Team Fleuge with 3,213.5 points. 2nd place has been topped by Tangelo Racing from Tony Saint with 3,221. No half points for Tony. Too good for that.
Doesn't even need half points.
Doesn't even need your half points. Put them back in the box. Congratulations, Tangelo Racing and Tony Saint. Tough nut to swallow, Fleuge, unfortunately. But, I mean, it's been the battle of the century, I would say, as far as fantasy points go. It's been a tussle for the ages.
It has. I mean, people will talk about that fantasy league result for decades to come. Everyone will remember where they were when they learned that Fleuge was topped.
I actually went in and changed some of how the points are distributed just to make sure that it was really tight at the end there.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
Would you want me to find out where I finished?
Yes, please.
I'm down 1 position. The irony, I just seeing this now. I didn't even know this team. I hadn't seen this team. Maybe I had. I finished 61st. I dropped 1 position week to week. I and you know what? It's the half point that did it for me. I've been overtaken by Rich Energy, by team manager Rich Energy.
That is actually run by the guy that runs Rich Energy.
Yeah, I'm the only person who bought any Rich Energy drinks. I've still got them. I've had 2.
What an insult that they passed you.
Yeah. And you held position.
No, don't worry about me. Everybody played well.
66.
And that's what counts. Yeah.
Amplified Ducks Racing in 66 there.
Next year. I can't wait to pre-season fantasy testing.
Oh, man. I can't believe they're already... this catches me out every season. That's like... So we finish racing on Sunday. It's Tuesday. Everybody back in your new teams. Before the start of the season, before even the year finishes, you know, Raikkonen was on the first flight out of Abu Dhabi, left all his race gear behind, and Bottas was like, "Great, we're the same size because we're from the same country."
That's how it works.
Pop that race suit on, going to absorb some of the great Kimi Raikkonen energy, and hop straight in that new car. So it always catches me out. Always catches me out.
Got that new car smell. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that they're testing because Toto Wolff is still like hungover and still stage diving and doing all that crazy stuff. There's that amazing footage online if you haven't seen it. Toto Wolff cutting loose. And I mean, if you thought he was like distraught about the result, just rest assured he's not.
Because he can always just go swimming in his money. There's always that.
Super quiz? Should we get in the super quiz?
Yeah, go on.
Let's do it.
We will accept a couple of questions. Should one only win one? Would one want to have won that one in round 1?
Can you repeat the question?
Zach, it's a big end-of-season super quiz. It's the end of 2021. We've got a 2021 recapathon with 21 questions in store, son. The biggest super quiz we've ever done. Sorry, you're going to be late to your meeting.
I feel whenever we get to the end of a season, I think back to the season. I'm like, I can't remember any of it. My brain wipes it. Race to race.
That's okay. This is why we need to do this, but also it'll be fine. And, you know, at the end, I'm just going to say you got them all right anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yes, exactly.
Ready? All right, 21 questions, man. 21 questions. Here we go. For the Dutch Grand Prix, Kimi Raikkonen tested positive for COVID and was replaced by who?
Robert Kubica.
Exactly. Which race did Nikita Mazepin miss after testing positive for COVID?
This race.
This one, Abu Dhabi, exactly. Tsunoda joined AlphaTauri this year. Who did he replace?
He replaced Alexander Albon.
Daniil Kvyat.
Oh, fuck. Daniil Kvyat. Yeah. Hey, can I interrupt the quiz for 1 second?
Go ahead. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Maybe, hopefully it's not a question on the quiz, but someone posted that Robert Kubica finished above Mazepin in the standings for the season.
Oh, I think that's probably right. I think on the basis that he raced in 2 races and probably finished higher than any position that Mazepin did. Yeah, I think that's right.
Terrific.
Good on you. What a good story. Yeah. A second US Grand Prix has been announced next year. And which city?
Miami.
Miami, baby. Starting in Austria was which female-led racing series making its debut as an F1 supporting series?
The W Series.
W Series. 2021 saw the introduction of sprint races. How many points are given to the winner of a sprint race?
Fuck. 3?
3. In the opening rounds of the season, what nickname did Mazepin earn after a number of spins in qualifying and races?
Dickhead. No, Mazepin.
Mazepin, that's right. What went wrong with Valtteri Bottas's tyre during a pit stop at the Monaco Grand Prix?
Oh, the nut got totally stuck and they couldn't get it off.
Wouldn't come off and he had to retire. At the French Grand Prix, Verstappen made a late pit but recovered to overtake who on the last lap to claim victory?
Lando Norris?
Hamilton. So he overtook him on the last lap to claim victory there as well. He did it twice in a season. What a good result. One of the flashpoints of the year, Hamilton and Verstappen made racing contact in a corner, which saw Verstappen crashing out and Hamilton carrying on to win. It was a home race for which of those 2 drivers?
Lewis Hamilton,
the British Grand Prix. Only one driver this year took their maiden F1 victory. Who was it?
Esteban Ocon?
Esteban Ocon. Only one driver this year took their second career victory. Who was it?
Oh, fuck. Who took their second career victory? Pierre Gasly?
Sergio Perez. He won a race last year and then he won the one this year. Only one. Sorry, Sergio. Only one driver this year had their second career front row qualifying performance. Who was it?
Oh, Lando Norris? Again?
Hard one.
I was going to guess
one.
him
Hard
all the time. Second
No, not
career
Lando
front
Norris.
row. Oh,
Such a hard one.
what?
This is
No.
maybe the hardest one
Really? Shit. I don't know if you're joking or not. I feel like
because you forget about the race. That's why.
Pierre Gasly?
No, George Russell.
George Russell.
Qualified on the front row for the forgettable
That's
Belgian Grand Prix.
right.
He also qualified second
Yes.
last year for that
I
one
knew it
race
was a
where
guy
he
like
filled in.
that.
It was one of those
Yeah.
guys. You're right. You were right. It was one of those guys. Ricardo made a memorable return. Ricardo made a memorable return to the top step of the podium at which race?
Oh, fuck me. Which
One of
race?
his
Like, if you'd asked me,
heritage, like lineage races for him.
one of the real ones that he's like, yes.
One that he has a cultural heritage lineage from.
Monza.
Ricardo, yes, Monza, the Italian Grand Prix. Thank goodness we got there. We talked all about how close Sainz and Leclerc always were on track, but who finished higher this year?
Sainz?
Sainz, yeah. Who is the only driver not to retire from any races this year?
Not to retire from any races this year. Who wouldn't have done it? I don't know. Fernando Alonso? Something like that?
No, also Sainz. Hamilton reached a record-breaking achievement for both poles and race victories this season by passing which milestone number?
100.
100 poles and 100, 100 plus poles, 100 plus races. Yes, correct. Which Spaniard made a long overdue return to the podium in Qatar?
Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso. Although if you ask Sainz every race, he's overdue for a return to the podium. Who was the only driver disqualified from any races this year for a fuel-related issue?
Oh, that's
Well,
a good question.
Those are two separate things. Who's the only driver disqualified? Clue, it was for a fuel-related thing.
Yes, sure. A fuel-related issue. Who had the fuel-related issue? Was that Daniel Ricciardo as well?
No, that was Sebastian Vettel. Which race made its debut this year and became our first official boycott?
The Saudi Arabia Aramco, bring your mates.
Saudi
We don't
Arabia.
care what kind of people they are unless they live here, and then we'll get them.
The Sport Washing Grand Prix, correct. And last question out of 21. Amazing you're on 20 out of 20 so far. Ferrari finished an impressive third in the Constructors' Championship this year, improving on last year, where they finished where, Zach?
5th.
So close. They finished 6th last year. Third
I
this
knew
year.
that it was bad.
But amazingly, you got 21 out of 21 correct. Well done.
Yeah, regardless. Yeah,
a great
just got
year.
them- no matter how many I got wrong, I got that many right. That
Doesn't matter because it's not about whether you win or lose. It's about whether you win on the last lap.
It's about whether we can manufacture a win for you.
Right, exactly.
Wow, that felt like the quickfire round at the end of a Sale of the Century episode.
I did have fast money in mind, and I was thinking, do I want to write questions that I don't even read out? I'm like, I want to put as little work into this as I can get away with. But at the same time, I thought about fast money and having a timer and everything, but then I just ironically ran out of time to do that.
But no, it's the way you delivered the questions
It's true. Rapid.
that it was clear but pacey, and it was like, and it was even the da 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 da, like is the way you
I wrote them in mind. I wrote them with Glenridge in mind.
yes.
I was going to also shuffle the questions because they're a little bit sort of pre-race, during the season, end of season. But I mean, again, I just sort of wrote them and went, this is going to be coming past you so fast. You're not going to be like, why didn't Rod shuffle these? What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just went with it.
It was good. It was very good.
You did great.
Thank you, mate. Great quiz.
Well, look, man, we were talking before the show, and it turns out this is going to be the last show that we're going to do this year. It's the end of the season. Sometimes we would do all the time, we would do an end of season episode. But the thing is, Christmas is just like right there. Like I can see it. It's so close. And we're all so incredibly tired. So we're going to wrap it up now. This is going to be the end of this season, but there will be more in store, and you'll hear all about it if you do all those things and follow us in all those places. But before we can finish off the final show of the season, we need to offer up our final thoughts, as it's called. So we need to think a thing and then say it.
We need to think of it and then say it.
Anything on your mind?
Anything on my entire mind.
Your entire mind.
I had a few things that I was going to bring up, and I feel like they came up during the race chat. What did I don't like, I'm going to say this, and I mentioned it. I didn't like having Lewis and Max standing like with the trophy like there between them, separated out from everyone. Like, it's Formula One shouldn't be that way. It's about we race as one. Yeah, everyone's racing. We're all having a crack. I know that's not what that's for. I'm being on purpose subverting that idea, but it's one of the things I like about Formula One is that because there's 20 people racing, they also get in your way, and that's part of it. That you have to kind of navigate around all the other people. It's not just you and a scoreboard or you and one other person. It's not the same as tennis or golf or anything like that. There are all these other people who you have to like account for and strategize with and all that kind of stuff. It isn't a straight fight between two drivers. And I know that they are excellent. And I know that even like I heard Daniel Ricciardo saying like, well, you know, I'm not going to tell you who I think is going to win or not, but you know, I'm just going to get out of their way. Like it's just going to be going nowhere near it because we all want them to kind of battle it out. But at the same time, Perez played a pivotal role in making sure that wasn't the case. That we talked about it, that, you know, he specifically got in the way and that there is a team dynamic and that, so it's a bit of a false, I think it's a false narrative that it was just between Verstappen and Hamilton, even though it was manufactured to be that way in the end, which is maybe the most frustrating thing about Formula One and has left me quite frustrated with the sport overall this season. It's been an incredibly great, and we'll have a recap show, I'm sure, but it's been an incredibly interesting season. But even in this last race, it showed everybody, and I joked about it on Twitter, I'm like, what are we doing for the next 40 laps? Because that's what happened. Because literally nothing happened in the middle of the race. Stuff happened at the start, stuff happened at the end. The highlights reel for this race is about 2 minutes because pretty much nothing happened. And yeah, it leaves us in a bit of a rough spot. And so maybe we would have been better off just having Hamilton and Verstappen go and race their own race around the go-kart track next door to settle the championship. Because yeah, it was all a bit of a funny farce. That's my
I did
final
notice that is funny. I did notice on, you know, happened to be looking at Wikipedia today, which is what I like to do when I'm putting together a quiz, and it said the typical you know, the winner of the championship will be decided by the most number of points across the season, and if the two drivers happen to be level on points, there will be a count back for the number of wins, and that driver will be awarded the victory, the championship. If the two drivers are the same on the number of wins, it will be counted back to the number of top three positions or top two positions. And then if that happens to be the same, it'll go down the order. And if they still cannot, this is what it literally says. If this procedure fails to produce a result, the FIA will nominate the winner according to such criteria as it thinks fit. And I think that just sums absolutely everything up. I didn't know that, but that's apparently in the rules. If they can't decide a winner based on any kind of points count back, they can just come up like, you'll do. You just look more like a champion. You're taller. You like the way you carry yourself. I like it.
Or you've had enough. You've won a bunch. So let the other guy have a crack.
You've got plenty. Give this one guy one. Come on. He'll cry if he doesn't get one.
Great.
So there's that. Cool.
Got a final thought? Is that your final thought?
No, I don't know. No, that's not my final thought. I mentioned a little while ago how good it would be if Verstappen happened to win, that he had said, I might think about racing under number one next year. He has confirmed he's going to do that.
Of course.
You know, again, if you're not happy about this and you need to find a silver lining, I am happy about that. I want to see the number one back on the track. So that's the thing. But I mean, the other thing is just, boy, we had a good year. It was such a good year. And I think, you know, as much as I would say it leaves a bad taste in the mouth for this race that Hamilton didn't win because he was probably the deserving victor of this race. It's hard to point to Verstappen's year and point to too many things. I mean, some people will say, yeah, in Monza, but that aside, you can't really point to too many things that Verstappen did wrong. And I think it shows how much he's turned things around. This is the sort of mental turnaround that Hamilton went through a few years ago after losing to Rosberg. He really needed to get everything out of every race weekend, and he was already playing that game. This is the game that Verstappen needed to play if he was going to ever be a contender, and that's exactly kind of what he did. So, you know, and the championship's not won or lost in one race. It's won or lost across the whole season, especially when it's this close. You could point to loads of times where Hamilton got really lucky, or things went his way when, I don't know, maybe I would argue they shouldn't have. So, you know, look, you have to take a holistic view of these things, but if you're still feeling sad, you're still feeling down, you're still feeling, you know, disillusioned with Formula One, Just remember that at the end of the day, the FIA, it's in the rules. The FIA can pick whatever winner they want. It's in the rules. So maybe, I don't know, time to look at ice hockey. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good sport.
It's going to be entertaining, right? Lots to look forward to as well, which is nice. I'm sure, as we've got Drive to Survive season.
Imagine the Drive to Survive episode. Imagine it.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of shouty.
So much.
Which will be really fun. I hope they get some nice interviews with everybody.
I wonder how much Michael Massey will be in it. I think they might set up his character nice and early and keep it going right until the end of the season.
He's in a funny spot, right? Because there's been a lot of chat. It's like he's unfit for the job, rah, rah, rah. And I don't know what makes you fit for that job. I have no idea. Probably be really good at like managing and project management and like stakeholder management, like lots of good stuff. It puts him in a funny position, right? Because does he go and leave now? Like he's been like, I'm going to fucking put up with all you dickheads. I'm out.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Is that the last thing you do? Because that's bad.
I don't know what the media is like over there in terms of like headlines and stuff. I imagine it's pretty Hamilton centric, but over here in Australia, all of the headlines are ex-Sydney TAFE student determines Formula One championship. And I was like, wow. It's not often that Formula One like is on the front cover of the back page, but it's all over the place now. Everyone knows it. So it's a weird vibe.
Well, I'm going to give up watching Formula One when there are no Australians involved. But at this rate, we're going to have Ricciardo, Piastri, Massey all involved probably from 2023. Congratulations to our co-countryman for winning the Formula 2. And we've already congratulated him on his reserve driver role. Should be in a Formula One car, as every single pundit says. Like, why isn't he in Formula One? It's like,
Mazepin was in Formula 2. He came fifth. This guy won. So come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, maybe we should, scratch around behind the counter and see if we can find some money to buy an F1 team, or at least sponsor one enough.
It's about time.
Yeah. Just want to call out one last thing for a bit of fun. It was not, and maybe we can use this as a segue. We'll see. Box of Neutrals did exactly what you are meant to do. If Super License comes up in any way, shape, or form, like the actual Super License, the thing you need to race in Formula One, came up on the show, and we got a nice little mention, which is
I should have put that in with Kimi Raikkonen when he retired with the Box of Neutrals. I should have repaid that favor there. Doesn't matter. Sorry, guys. Love you guys.
So,
do we have any business left for this episode? I mean, you can check out the website. You can check out the Twitter if you want to stay in touch. Jump in the Discord if you want to drop us a message, or just, I don't know, if you want to talk about how much you miss Formula One, if you're watching Drive to Survive and you're like, yeah, I'm in the mood again. Where's my F1 peeps at? We're all here. We'll be here for you. But this is going to be the sign off, I think.
Yeah. Anything, do we want to talk a little bit about what our calendar will look like for shows in a little foreseeable, or
don't know what it'll be. So that's coming together.
But yeah,
it might be non-typical.
Yes, it might be non-typical. Exactly. But we'll definitely, I don't know, if you're new to the show, there's definitely a little bit of a break. But just like Formula One takes a break, they work hard, we work hard. We actually do more shows than they do races in the season. So if anything, we should be more tired than them. So yeah, we'll have a little bit of a break, recharge our voices, batteries, and hot takes. And we'll be back. At least we'll be back before the start of the next season, probably somewhere between testing and the new season, because we'd like to know a little bit about how we got fresh cars next year. We got fresh drivers. We got a lot of freshness. It's a fresh Formula One season. So there's going to be lots to talk about kind of between testing and the first race. So we'll be back then. That'll be at least sometime before the new season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've already said, if you want to, I don't know, the best way to stay abreast of what's coming or when things are back with us is to jump on that Twitter, jump on the Discord, etc., and we'll keep you all up to date. I want to also just say thanks to everyone who listened. Thanks to everyone who supports us on Patreon. Thanks to everyone who responded to a tweet or sent us an email or said hi to me when I was down at the shops. Not the shops. Look at me like it's 2019.
The shops.
Thanks for giving us the time of day. We appreciate it. There's plenty of other F1 podcasts you could be listening to. We value your listenership. So, thanks for that. Thanks for putting up with just my dumb stuff. And
the good news with podcasts is that there's no actual limit other than your time, for how many you can listen to. And no one's going to come in. Michael Massey's not going to bust in and be like, you've listened to enough Formula One podcasts this week. So, enjoy them all. Put us as much as part of the roster. Yeah. And thanks to you, man. Thanks for doing the show with me this year. Oh, cheers, buddy. It's been, I know, another year of interesting times, pandemic or
Oh, boy.
otherwise, but something to look forward to every week. What's better than
true.
listening to a podcast? One thing, recording it with you. So it's been a real delight.
Well, before we all start crying, I think it's time to say farewell for this year. Have fun, whatever you do, watching stuff over the off season. I guess there's Formula E, maybe. I don't know.
Extreme
but
E?
just check out. Check out the Extreme E. That's a good one. And yeah, just everyone take care of yourself. Go and get a vaccine if you haven't done that yet. Get a booster. I got my booster today. First booster today. I'm all boosted.
Nice.
If you
My
noticed, I was
boosters
extra
happen on
boosty today. That's why. Oh, look at us, the booster boys.
Booster boys.
And yeah, if you want to be a booster boy or girl or non-gender binary person, you can do that, and then let us know how you did that. But yeah, we're going to sign off. This is it. This is the big wrap up for the year. What a good year! Amazing. My God, what a good year. Until next year, my name's been Rod.
My name's been Zach.
We'll talk to you sooner than you think. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah.